Welcome to Beyond Wealth, Success Unscripted with Matt Calnan. Discover the personal drive, professional journeys, and business strategies that have made a real impact. It's success from the inside out.
Welcome back, everybody. Today we are chatting with Doug Mereska. Doug is one of the top performing commercial real estate agents in Lethbridge, Alberta. He focuses on the industrial and the investment side of properties. So welcome to the show, Doug.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Thanks for the
we'll dive in and start it off here. Can you maybe just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your journey?
Well, I'm a commercial real estate broker in Lethbridge, Alberta. Started my journey, I guess, started back in 2002. And I worked for a couple of local brokerage firms at the time. And then in 2009, I started the Avis & Young brokerage here in Lethbridge. So I guess we're up 15 years.
15 years now. Did you, in 2002, did you start in residential and move into commercial, or did you stay in commercial or start in commercial?
Yeah, it's funny story is a good friend of mine was the one that I was doing some other work at the time. Wasn't really loving it. It was work that I didn't really enjoy. And so I was just chatting with him one day and he said, Doug, I got my license. He said, you should do that too. You'd be good at it. So I said, I never thought about it before. And so I did. I grew up living next door to Alan Fox, who was a Remax broker. So I had actually bought a couple of small little villas and condos or townhouses, whatever you call it, back when I was 19, 20 years old.
On the investing side.
Yeah, you can buy it. Yeah. You can buy it for $1,000. You could assume a mortgage back then for $1,000. I didn't have a job. I was going to university, working summers. So just different times. So anyway, I had a little bit of experience in it, but of course I wasn't smart enough, and I sold them when I got married and took the money and went on a cruise and thought that was a great idea, right? In hindsight, I should have kept those 3 properties. But anyway, in 2002, I licensed my license selling residential and quickly realized that it wasn't for me. It's just I'm a numbers guy. And residential real estate is more about emotion, and so it just wasn't a fit for me.
You didn't want to pick out paint colors with people?
Yeah, didn't like that. Shag rug, it didn't mean, to me it was, this is how big it is, this is what you should pay for it, right?
Yeah.
About numbers.
Yeah.
So anyway, just got an opportunity to go to Remax and started there with commercial real estate with Alan Fox. Then jumped over to join Bankers Commercial for 4 years. And then the opportunity for Avis & Young came upon me in 2009, and with some encouragement from people that I was close to, decided to give it a go.
Yeah. Do you want to talk maybe a little bit about that transition between residential and commercial, and for people that maybe don't know what the differences are and what the challenges between that transition would be?
Yeah, it is. First of all, in commercial real estate, generally, what I do anyway in my day-to-day work is a lot about numbers. It's what kind of properties, what kind of revenue do the properties produce?
Yeah,
that was my interest. The only class in school that I excelled in was math. So when it came to residential, it was just emotion. People were making decisions on emotion.
Yeah.
They liked the cupboards, they liked the carpet, they liked the whatever. And I'm going, well, or they didn't like the carpet, or they didn't like the cupboards. And I'm going, well, then rip it out and put new ones in. People just couldn't see the vision, I guess. And I didn't do a very good job with that. And then also I didn't like the fact that people wanted to look at houses in the evenings, and they wanted to look at houses on weekends. And at the time I had a young family, and it just wasn't a good thing for family life either. So it was, to me, it was a no-brainer. It was really, really a no-brainer. And like I said, I had some people that encouraged me, including my wife. She was one that encouraged me the most to get into commercial real estate. Most people know that when you get into our industry, most people fail, and that people that don't fail usually don't make any money until they've been in it for 3 years. I've seen it over and over again. Some good people that have got into our industry, they get out maybe a little too early. They just don't give it enough time. It's not easy, but once you get going, it's a fun industry. Really, really.
Why do you think the fail rate is so high, especially on the commercial side of things?
Well, 2 things. Your transactions, for one, take a long time to happen. You can work on transactions. Usually it's about 6 months to a year before they happen. But I think the biggest thing is you need to build trust with people, first of all, before they will actually agree to transact with you. So that takes some time. I was fortunate enough that I've been in the community since I was 15 years old. So I did know a lot of people. So I was able to kind of limp along for the first few years until I actually really developed some relationships outside of my personal social circles.
Yep.
So once that happened, that's when it took off for me as well. Once I expanded that. And I think the other reason is just people just don't give it enough time. They really, really don't give it enough time. They just don't stick with it long enough to see the success.
Mm-hmm. Is it something where somebody getting into that industry, though, knowing that it might take a little bit of time to make that money, either has to have something stashed away or have a supportive partner, spouse, family, whatever that is, to help carry that load?
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I look back at some of the people that I was close to in our industry, and they almost all come from a similar background to me in a sense. We're fortunate enough to have spouses that had jobs that paid them well and had benefits, and we could flounder around for a couple of years before we made money, or came from another business where they maybe sold their business. Maybe they're 40 years old, they sell their business, and they have some money they can live off of.
Yeah.
Definitely a factor. Or the other option is to be really, really young and not have any expenses and live in your mom's basement. That's always an option too. So
start at 18, 17, 18, 19.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We both know a fellow that we worked with that was that way. It wasn't his mom's basement, but he was a young guy and had a second job and got into our industry and could afford the time. And he was very successful once he gave it some time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Anything like a pivotal moment, either personally or professionally, that really drove you towards kind of that successful career?
Well, I guess first of all, be my spouse, Paula, giving me the opportunity, saying, go for it. That was one of the biggest ones. The second one, I guess, was taking it to the next level and building a business, other than, we start off initially just doing transactions. And then eventually there's an aha moment comes along and you start to build a business. And I would say there's, a couple of mentors that I worked with that pushed me and said, Doug, go for it. And then I did a lot of reading. As I became the owner and operator and manager, whatever you want to call me, of the brokerage, I had to figure it out, right? And so I used to do a lot of reading, and I really believe in it, including learning from yourself, Matt, over the years. We obviously have a previous relationship, and just giving people autonomy. One thing I've always believed in is have your best employees, your best people to be partners with you. That's one of the things that I really believed in all along. I always liked the idea of making the pie really, really big and just taking a small piece of that pie instead of trying to have a big piece of a small pie. Those are some of the things that I think it's helped me along the way, is just educating myself. I wish I knew then what I know now. Would be a line. I think we can all use that line. I think I might have had, call it financial success earlier if I would have known then what I know now. But anyway, that's all been great.
2020 vision. And that's where the mentorship comes in, and you being able to now pass on to the next generation side of things as well. So let's talk about a couple things that you said there. One of them was moving into creating a business versus just being a transactional based realtor. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't quite understand is, when you're a realtor and it's Doug Mereska, the realtor, usually on the residential side, but sometimes on the commercial too, that's not a business, that's a job. You've created yourself a job. So what did you do, and what kind of team development had to occur to now create the business that you're the broker of versus Doug Mereska as the realtor?
Yeah, that's a good point. One of the things that I was really adamant about is, if anybody drives around any city, you'll see a sign that says, Avis and Young or Remax or whatever the sign is, and it'll have somebody's name under it. So generally those people are promoting themselves. In fact, you might not even see the name of the company. It's very small. But what's really big is, Bob or John or whatever it is. That is a really big. So what we were adamant about fairly early on, right at the start, when we started Avis Young, we wanted to build a business. So I pushed for, and it's our rule, it's our policy that we don't put names on our signs, because we're trying to build the business. We're trying to build the brand, Avis and Young. And our belief was then that's sustainable. It doesn't matter who sits in this chair, that brand will be strong in our community for forever. So that was number one thing we wanted to do. And then secondly, we wanted to instead of running it like most brokerage houses where the broker gets to keep all the money and then just pays a monthly fee for his chair
Yeah.
or his office, we thought, you know what, we're going to pay for all the overhead. And again, it's a business, and we're going to put some profit aside that we can then share amongst the owners. And which is, again, what you want to do with the business. And
Yeah.
then when we started doing that, then we invited more people to become owners. So the
Yeah.
people producing could then become an owner, and then they would get it on the back end as well as the front end. So
Yeah.
those are the two, I think, key things that helped us develop it as a business. And then also having the vision, I guess, or the belief that giving your staff autonomy to do what they felt was the right thing and encouraging them to do that and get out of the way. I really, really believe that. Get out of the way.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of different ways to do things, and it doesn't matter how you get there. Your way might not be the right way, or it might be the right way, I guess, but there might be a different way to get there than what you think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that I think that all makes sense. And there's obviously a lot of value to having that mindset in it. And so I guess talking more on the team there, what does the team look like today? I'm assuming it's gone through a lot of ebbs and flows over the last 15 years, right?
Yeah, we have. And, it's kind of funny, but we look back at where we were 10 years ago. So what do we know, 15 years into our business?
Yeah.
We're very similar structure than what we were 10 years ago. We had some changes, but generally we're 2 brokers per 1 admin. That's kind of the way we've always ran it. Again, we've had some times we've had less and times when we've had more for different reasons. We tried different things, but we've seemed to have gone back to what seems to work best. Got a great group of people right now, and it seems to be working.
Good. And your role as the broker of the firm, and you'd mentioned 2 brokers to one admin. So you're talking about 2 realtors to 1 admin, commercial real estate agents. Your job as the broker and really overseeing that business. What do you do in terms of mentorship to bring the next generation or the younger staff in there? I mean, not that you're old, Doug, but they're all younger than you are.
Well, that's true. I am the oldest. I just say I'm the oldest. I don't say I'm old.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's we haven't had anybody new start in our office for in our Lethbridge office anyway for 6 years now, 6.5 years.
Yeah.
We did have somebody start in Medicine Hat just recently. Unfortunately, we're only in touch every couple of times a month, so I don't get that opportunity to be the mentor that I want to be. But yeah, over the next couple of years, I'm sure we'll add another person to our Lethbridge office. And my belief is just like I learned from watching people that I worked with. Some of the key things I think is you have to just show up. I like that term, show up, which means more than just physically. You need to just go out and talk to people, learn their business, but more importantly, you just need to talk to people, find out how you can help. And if you do those things, people will then eventually begin to trust you. And 3 years down the road, you'll start making some money.
Yeah. Or 2, maybe 2.
Yeah. If you're lucky, you do it in 2. But really, like I said, I always tell people 3. And anybody new that's ever started with me, I always just tell them, be prepared to not make any money for 3 years. And go home and tell your spouse that, because I'm going to run into her or him at the Christmas party. And I want to make sure that they were aware of that before you start.
Yeah, they knew what they were getting into.
Yeah, for sure.
And Doug, you do a little bit of other mentorship as well, do you not? With some agents kind of around the North America.
I took a coaching program back in 2013, 2014 for a couple of years, and it was really opened my eye. I did a lot of the things. It's kind of things, subconsciously, I think you do stuff in your life that you don't realize you're doing. And when we took this coaching program, it was, I do that already. Yeah, I'm right on. I'm doing that stuff. And it was, of course, a few things, but also resonated in me that I needed to do it more, or I needed to be more consistent with it.
Right.
So anyway, fast forward a few more years after I got out of the program. So I guess I'm going back to about 2019, 2018. I joined up with that company that I worked with, and I'm doing coaching mainly in the US. Right now, all my clients are out of the US. So I do about 15 to 17 calls per month, and just mentoring people that are all over the US. Fortunate enough, one of the biggest takeaways, they do pay me for it. So straight, full disclosure. But my biggest takeaways is I think it's helped my business. It's I've learned from other people. I've got a fellow that I coach that's probably in his late 20s, and another guy that's 77 years old.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And
Got the
everywhere in
spread.
between. And
Yeah.
him and I, we have a great relationship. I've been coaching him for 5 years, and I asked him a few months ago, why are you still doing this? And he goes, like, when I mean, not selling real estate, why are you still doing the
In the
coaching?
program.
He
Yeah.
says, yeah, he said, I just love having a chat with somebody once a month with bounce stuff off of that. There's no hidden agenda. He's
Yeah.
not in my market. He's not competing with me. And
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Different
yeah,
markets. Yeah.
it is. It's really, really great. And we're very similar. I'm not 77 yet, but he runs his own small brokerage in a small town and a small city. So we have a lot of things that we can relate to. Similar staffing issues, or in my case, no issues.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, and I enjoy it. And it's something that I'll probably keep doing for after I quit sitting in this chair. I'm sure I'll keep doing
Keep the
that.
mentorship side up.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
for sure.
So when you look at maybe somebody new coming in, and like you said, you haven't had somebody new come into the office for a while, but somebody new coming into the industry, what are some of the key skills that you would look for to say, I think that person has the ability to or to be successful, outside of having support from a financial
Yeah,
financial
yeah.
support from a spouse or something like that?
Yeah, but you're right on. I'm glad you brought it up again, because it is probably the number one thing. It absolutely, I believe it is. Number two, though, I think you need to have the right personality. You can't be afraid to talk to people. That is probably the number one thing. You have to be able to go to social events and talk to people. I know some of us, as we get long in the tooth, or farther along in our career, is sometimes we just, oh, I don't feel like going to that social event tonight. I'm blah, blah, blah. But you just got to put on your tie and put on your suit and say, you know what, I'm going to go this, and I'm going to make it a little game. Quite often I'll play a little game with myself. I'll say, I'm going to meet two people tonight that I've never met before, or I'm going to find out when somebody's anniversary is. Just some kind of little game, just to excite you. But I always find, once I get to these events, I always am glad that I went. It's just
Yeah.
sometimes it's a little hard to get yourself off the couch to
Yeah.
go there. So
It's similar to, like, if you think of going to the gym. Once you're at the gym and doing it, you're happy that you were there, but to get your butt up and actually get over there is a little bit hard.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, I'm the gym guy too, right? So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you do
yeah.
like the gym. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's number one, is you just have to have that personality to do that.
Yeah.
You have to know, and it's not just say you have to know people, it's people have to know you. You can know everybody in Lethbridge and you're still not going to be successful, but people need to know you for you to be successful. So you need to get out there, tell people your story, and more importantly, listen to somebody else's story. I think that is one of the best ways to build a relationship, is just listen to somebody's story,
Yeah.
and they'll have a good feeling in about you when that conversation is over. And then secondly, you need a couple other traits that I've found from the coaching and from people in my office that can hurt you or help you. Is you can't be I use the word a high conformer. So you kind of you can't wait until you have all the information before you do something. Because I think you just get bogged down and stressed out and you never do anything.
Yeah.
What we do, nobody's dying on the table. I think maybe I heard that line before. So if I don't get somebody the right information today, if I have to say, I'll get it to you tomorrow, nobody's going to die today because I said I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. Another person mentioned me once before, is you can't be afraid to shoot. You got to shoot at 80%. The military, if they waited for all the information, they would get shot before they had an opportunity to kill somebody else or shoot somebody else. And so that's why you see friendly fire once in a while. It happens. Because so that is the trait that I think is important, is you can't be afraid to just get out there and do it.
And just go. Just execute on it.
Yeah. And of course you want to make sure you don't screw up, and
yeah,
that's obvious, but you can't be afraid and go talk to people, because otherwise you'll never get off, you'll never be successful.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Is there anything like a book, a podcast, any kind of marketing material, anything like that that has really kind of changed your career path or your outlook, or has been influential to you?
Yeah, there's a book I read years ago, and I've actually listened to it on a podcast. It's probably been 5 or 6 years since, but
Yeah.
4 Hour Work Week. I thought
Oh
that
yeah.
was
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that book. I mean, you probably read it, but yeah, I thought that was neat. It kind of taught me. It was probably at the time I read it first was probably when I started the brokerage in 2009, and it was about leveraging technology and people.
Hmm.
That was the biggest takeaways. The book isn't necessarily about that, but that was one of my biggest takeaways from it was is just share a vision and get out of the way.
Yeah.
Um,
Get
today
the right team in there.
we're using AI today for that
Mhm.
same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And actually, and then just expanding on that book idea, Matt, is one of the books that I read recently, and I really loved it, is So You Think You're Ready to Retire. Um, I read that. That was given to me by our accountant a little over a year ago.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and I've shared it with 4 or 5 other people. I know at least 5 or 6 other people that have ordered it themselves,
Yeah.
and they read it and they thanked me for mentioning it to them.
Yeah.
So I don't even remember who the author is, but it's a fellow from Vancouver Island, I believe, that wrote it. And
Okay.
it's So You Think You're Ready to Retire. Easy read, and he's not telling you should retire or shouldn't retire. He's just making you think about if you do decide to retire, you need to replace again, some of the takeaways that I got from it. The biggest one is what do you like about your job today and what don't you like?
Mm.
And if you retire, how are you going to replace the stuff that you like?
Yeah.
So if an example is if you love to be in the limelight, if you love to have people, you want to be a mayor and shake everybody's hand, if that's what you love,
Yeah.
well, when you retire, how are you going to replace that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to replace that with something. So um, I know myself, I I may or may not continue selling real estate for 15 years. I don't know yet. I'm going to do it for a while longer. But I know if I do quit doing what I'm doing today, I need to replace that social activity because that's what I enjoy most about this business is talking to people. And
Right.
if I can't replace that, then I'll still be sitting in this chair because
Yeah.
it's important it makes me feel younger for one. And I believe people live longer and live healthier if they have a social life. And
Yeah.
I look at my friends, my best friends, the people that I socialize with a lot today, 80% come from this industry today. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's amazing how it's evolved over
Yes.
the
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. So what's on the horizon for you or Avis and Young or like, any big goals, any projects that you're excited about?
Yeah, we're got a lot of good things going on. We're working on a large, nice industrial project called Frontier. That's specifically what I'm working on.
Yeah.
Avis and Young is working with a local investor at the crossings, and that's really going to take off now. That's really excited about that. Lots of growth in the industrial park. We're going to start seeing some buildings pop up here. Been a bit stagnant for the last couple of years, mainly because of
Yeah.
construction costs.
Yeah. Through COVID.
Our lease rates are really lagging behind the cost of construction. So we're going to start to see those rates go up. So if you're a landlord, good news for the next 2 years, you're going to see your rates going up.
Mhm.
Anything new that's being built is going to require lease rates to be 50% more than they are today. In some cases, maybe even double, depending how long it's been since you signed your last lease.
Right. Yeah.
Be prepared if you've been in a long-term lease for 5 to 10 years, you're probably looking at maybe in a 50% jump on your renewal.
Yeah.
So just be prepared for that. Ways you can mitigate that and have a discussion with your landlord today. If your lease isn't up for a year or two, maybe you can give him something back. Most landlords will take term. Maybe you say, hey, you know what? I know market's rents are here, but will you agree to there? And I'll give you 7 more years, 10 more years
Yeah.
of
So
term.
bump it out, which gives them certainty on it, which landlords like.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, especially if it's a local landlord that maybe is 65 years old and he just wants certainty for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
He's happy with the revenue he's getting out of the property. If you have an institutional landlord, that's a little more difficult because they're driving the bottom line.
Yeah.
They're working for investors and they got to generally they have to be at market. So
Hmm.
it's going to be difficult for you but have a discussion, see if there's any way that you can mitigate those increases. Maybe you kick the can down the road a little bit until you get a chance to build your business up a little bit more so you can afford those rents.
Right. Right. Yeah. So anybody that wants to maybe dive deeper or connect with you, how could they get in connection there?
Pretty easy to get a hold of. Just Google my name, Abison Young. You can reach out to me at by email, just doug.mereska@abisonyoung.com. I'm on LinkedIn. You can send me a message that way, or you can give a call to the office at 403-330-3338.
Perfect. Well, certainly appreciate your time today, Doug, and I'm sure we'll chat again in the near future here.
Awesome, Matt. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much. Have a good one.
Okay, bye.
You've been listening to Beyond Wealth, Success Unscripted with Matt Calnan. Want to be our next guest? Visit beyondwealthpodcast.ca/guest. See you on the next episode.